The 12-man raid for Throne of Liberty is finally coming. We have a pretty massive update this week with a ton of new details. I also want to go over exactly what new stats we'll be getting with the legendary gear so you can already prepare your builds. I'll have them displayed just like this. Again, we'll have more details on that later in the video. So we have update 2.16. Downtime will begin at these times and last for about 5.5 hours. We did have an eye on Silesium, but it didn't really announce much more than what's in the patch notes. We're getting the Altar of Calanthia, the 12-player raid. You will have to complete the codex, like I did here, the 2 wings of Silavath, 1 and part 2. Part 2 you can't fully complete, but it unlocks the new raid. Then there's a countdown. You can see the raid will unlock in 17 hours and 25 minutes from now. This is on the Korean server and they're having the exact same unlock time as us. So if you have your team together, you can plan accordingly and see who can get world first completion. I will say normal will probably be pretty easy, especially with regards to the forgiveness mechanic. The more times your group wipes, the easier it will become with regards to getting a damage buff and a HP buff. You will have to go to Harper Village once you've gone and done the codex, and you can access here to queue up to the raid. Normal mode, you'll be able to do random party matchmaking. You'll need 5,000 combat power for that. However, there will be party boards, which you can list and you can create your group that way. On difficulty, there will be no random queue, you have to use the party board. Right now, the rewards are to be announced. However, we did get to see these earlier. This is the first boss on difficult, just dropping these shards, potentially obsidian fragments, an ametoi. The next one just changes another ametoi, and the final boss is where the legendary gear will be at. There is also a pity store where you can buy whichever one you want. Difficult mode or hard will require 6,000 combat power. You can receive rewards from both normal and difficult each week. When looking at the raid gate here, you can see you get this currency and it's different per boss. So you can claim the rewards from each boss and then again for each difficulty. So you'll be able to get the reward 6 times. You have these checkpoints, so you can create your group based on, I want to start at this boss or this boss. For those rewards, each week killing Calanthia on any difficulty guarantees a legendary armor or weapon. Hard mode offers a higher chance for weapon drops or the selection chest. Legendary accessories will come with the nightmare difficulty. This mode will not be available until August. You can see this as like a milestone right here. This is a countdown until we actually can play the raid on normal and hard, but then the Forbidden Ritual will have its own countdown. There will also be a Silesium style pack. You can transform your looks with new hairstyles. You can see the full list here. And this legendary gear, they call it heroic gear. I'm not too happy about that. You can only equip one piece at a time. It is a higher grade than the existing gear. At base level 0, it's equivalent to your max 12 tier 2 gear. We can see this if I look at the exchange. See how this armor piece has even more stats at level 0. We then upgrade it to level 12 and it's significantly higher. But again, you will only be equipping one of those pieces at a time. These legendary items also have a primary and a secondary stat, as well as 3 trait slots and a 4th special slot. The weapons do not come with passive skills. Instead, you will extract them from other weapons and apply them to these. Now yes, they do say you can extract tier 1 archboss weapon traits, but honestly that's a bit of a trap, because you'd be better off saving those tier 1 weapons and using them to basically get them upgraded, obtaining the new Frenzied Flame weapons. I covered them all in detail in my previous video. However, I would wait for concrete confirmation before upgrading to these with the intent of extracting that skill, because you never know. There might be something sneaky that you can't extract these skills. You will have to craft skill core extraction scrolls, needing Marand ore, extract stones and loyalty coins. You will also need to craft skill core imprint books, needing chaos prisms. which you will get via beating up the bosses in the raid. There is then those ascended arch bosses, Queen Belandir and Tevent, upgraded difficulty versions with the ability to craft those new versions of the weapons. Again, we covered the details and the stats of all of these and how much of an upgrade they actually are, but make sure to check your calendar here and you will see this new slots, and there will be twice a week that you'll be able to do them. To add to my previous video, these ashen fragments, there will be additional drops from the bosses which you will be able to sell. So you will be able to buy them and then be able to craft that weapon sooner than later, rather than waiting for all your personal drops. Arisen Season 2 will come to an end at the start of maintenance with a month-long 6v6 arena. Then some general updates. Improvements to ground markers, observer mode. You will now have 4 more quick slots. I don't know why my lighting is kind of screwed here, but you can see you can expand it and now you'll have 8 slots. Updating weapon mastery tooltips. Tax delivery will be the same day as Castle Siege. Increase the stats provided from boonstones and riftstones. 3-star and 4-star dungeon chests can now be opened twice per run. Fix an issue with letters in a bottle contract. And then the weapon updates. So just an improvement to Flash Arrow. Nobody really uses that. They all use Flash Wave instead. Brutal Arrow, a 40% increase to stunned or bound targets. The weapon mastery, just a rework, so it gives base damage. And Healing Touch, changed so now it has a 4th specialization, which changes it to give a damage boost. I've seen some players saying it could be really good to run Spear and Bow with this change. I guess because you take advantage of all those extra hits, but it's right here, the concentration stance. You reduce your movement speed, but now you gain an boost to damage. This of course will scale based on the level of your Healing Touch. The Korean website did say up to 52% plus 22. Again, could be very impactful on classes which have lots of little hits. So we might even see a return of Scout, which is bow crossbow. Spear got a Phoenix Barrage nerf, mainly just for PvP because they did increase the boost to monsters to compensate for that nerf. Same with Explosive Fury, a PvP nerf, but then a boost in PvE against monsters. Daggers, Thunderclad Bombing reduced that damage by about 20% overall, but boosted the monster damage up to 40% to compensate. The Korean patch notes were a little bit confusing with regards to it saying poison here, but this is per stack of the Thunderclad Bombings in fact. So it will scale now down, and that's a pretty big nerf. And other than that, some UI updates here. So let's go over this legendary gear and what upgrades and what stats can you gain from them. Which should you be choosing? Because you can only use one weapon. You can only use one armor piece. Well, if we look at the Greatsword, we can see it right here. It has a pretty significant boost in base damage. I put the Frenzied Flame weapons beside it just to give a comparison of how much of an upgrade they are. The attack speed though is slightly lower. Again, it has no skill bonus, but you will be able to extract the skill from any weapon and put it on here. So you could take it from the Awakened one and put it there. Then you look at the stats, 18 strength, heavy attack, species damage boost, and then 2 optional stats. And that's where this comes into play. You will choose 2 from this list. Of course, when you drop the weapon and obtain it for the first time, those will be random and you will be able to change them. The cost to do so is still to be confirmed, but Tico Talks did show it would be like 200 unlock stones and 800 conversion stones, but they do say this is placeholder. And then you have the traits. You will have 3 normal traits, and then you will have a 4th special trait. And from what we could see, it would just be 2 extra attributes, and you'd have to unlock it with like 600 trait unlock stones. But again, it's set as placeholder, so to be confirmed. So that's the Greatsword. Then we have a look at the Sword and Shield. Again, a pretty significant upgrade from the Frenzied Flame version. Just looking at the base damage, damage reduction, shield block chance, and then the stats here. You will see all of them have the species damage boost, making them even better for PvE. Again, with the 2 buried stats, you can see the list here that you can choose from. Min is when it's level 1, max is when it's level 12. And again, for the traits, this is what you can get. Then for the daggers, way higher base damage, higher offhand attack chance, load of dexterity, attack speed, and then this is the list of stats you can choose from, with then again these traits. It does differ depending on the weapons. Now for the crossbows, another massive boost to base damage, although for some reason the offhand damage is actually a little bit less. You get that increased offhand double attack chance, you get a load of dexterity, bonus damage, and these are the extra stats you can choose from, within these being the traits. Now for the longbow, again a huge boost to the base damage, same attack speed and range, ton of dexterity, you get a 24% boost to range, species damage boost. These are all the stats you can choose from, again taking 2 of them, and then these are the traits. Then the staff, big base damage boost, slightly worse range though, a big boost in wisdom, cooldown speed. These are then the stats you'll choose from within the extra traits. Then for the wand, you can see it versus the Tevin's Frenzied Flame Scepter, and that base damage boost is significant, along with then a boost in wisdom, mana cost efficiency of 22%. You'll choose 2 of these possible stats, and then 3 of these traits, and finally the spear. That's it here. Big base damage boost, nearly 16% attack speed. You'll choose 2 of these stats, 3 of these traits, and again, all of these weapons, you'll only be able to use 1 of them, but you can choose what skill bonus you want to have on them. You will have to decide which weapon you want on your build. For me, it will undoubtedly be staff, just because the majority of your damage comes from staff, and with it having that significant base damage boost, it will just mean, yeah, your staff skills will hit for far more. It also has the very nice cooldown versus this just having mana cost efficiency, which I don't really have to worry about anyway. But then looking at the armor pieces, you can see them all here. You even get a cloak, and you have to choose 1 of them. They all have one thing in common, which is this Dark Wings Bulwark. You will only get this effect once because you can only use 1 of them. Gives you 2000 max health and 300 more magic defense. You can see the headpiece here with 10 wisdom, 7% cooldown, and then you will choose 3 of these stats. Again, it will randomly drop with those 3 stats, but then you will be able to change it. The cost still to be determined. At maximum, you can see like 8 dexterity, 8 strength, 160 endurance or evasion, etc. And then the traits, again, you will choose 3 of them with then a special trait giving more attributes. So make sure you look carefully at what stats these are giving and figure out if this is going to fit best in your build. Alternatively, you look at the chest piece. This is giving a 10 perception, 147 heavy attack, and then 3 of these different possible stats. You also have the choice of these traits, and then again that special trait. And do note, there's no like evasion or endurance in these traits, but I guess you are gaining the same amount from, say, the 3rd stat here if you were to choose it. Looking then at the arms, 10 dexterity, nearly 10% attack speed, and yes, you can get a trait with attack speed. So I'll probably, in my build, be just going with the arms. It's an easy switch out from currently my Transcendent arms. And then you'll be choosing 3 of the different stats, and my build would probably go with Perception Fortitude for like the base damage, and then probably the heavy attack. Then you have the legs, 10 strength, damage reduction. Choose 3 of these stats, which does actually include attack speed, and then 3 of these traits. Then for the boots, 10 dexterity, bunch more movement speed. You'll choose 3 of these stats as well, and then 3 of these traits. Finally, there's the cloak. 200 skill damage resistance, 10% attack speed. This is a very tempting one to take, and I would highly recommend it for PvP. That 200 skill damage resistance is huge survivability gains. However, for PvE, I wouldn't take this. The possible extra stats here, not really that favorable towards PvE. You can't get extra attributes like you can with, say, the arms. This will give 16 more attributes, which is a ton more base damage. And then you'll have 3 of these traits. So yeah, it opens up a ton of build diversity, what you can choose, what you'll be going for. And of course, these will be expensive as hell, and I'm sure that's the intent. You will take a while just to obtain them, and then you will take quite a long time to upgrade them. They have said you won't be able to use trait unlock zones to say unlock the traits, so you're going to have to farm multiple of those exact weapons with getting the right trait drops, or paying a heavy sum, I believe, purchasing them from other players. We can potentially look, and yes, those traits will be available. But that's it for the video. I hope this helps. Again, for Invocator, I will most likely be going for the arms as my legendary piece, and then the staff as my legendary weapon. As for the bonus to go on the staff, well, I'm contemplating, but it may very well be the Queen Belandir's Frenzied Flame staff, with the possibility for the Delos Noah one when against massive bosses. But that will take a long while to get, and here's hoping the raid will be a lot of fun. Another special thank you to all my channel members for your added support, and we'll see you guys around. Goodbye for now.